Hi, so welcome everyone. Today is week 6, if I'm not wrong, of prayers and meditations. And today we have prayer of November 28, 1913 with us. And I would like to request all of you to begin by sharing how was it for you going through the prayer, your experiences. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go, Monica, first.
Yes, Chitraji.
Yeah, actually, this is my favorite topic, prayer. So, because whole of my relationship with mother fully developed through this prayers only, actually. So
Yeah.
I used to write down my prayers, keep at the feet of mother, and also I used to write down my prayers and post it to ashram. Whenever I receive a blessing packet from ashram, no, I used to feel very happy and think whether this prayer will be granted or not. But immediately after I receive the blessing packets, that peace will come inside me actually. So
Mm.
in that way, really it helped me a lot for me also to grow personally. And of course, so many problems are also solved actually through the prayers. That is also there.
Yeah.
Then I have one book actually that is in Tamil. One of the sadhak, Kabali Sastriyar, must be heard, no? He's a old sadhak ashram. Actually, that is in Tamil it is called Vennira Chudaruli. In English, if you translate it, it is Flame of White Light. He wrote a small thing about prayer.
Excuse me, Chitraji, is it flame of quiet light or white light?
Flame of White Light. White.
White light. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah, yeah. Yeah, in that, I translated his words about the prayer. I'll read. I don't know. My translation won't be very good. The grace as sunlight spreads from her. So why can't I pray to her whatever I wish? If I can pray to divine to remove the faults of mine, why can't I pray also to her to remove some disturbances coming from outside? Without doubt, whatever be the answer from her, I have to accept it. I am not praying to an impersonal God. I am praying to the Divine Mother, in whose spell I come under, who is the embodiment of love and grace. So my prayers are answered. This is my mantra actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 95, 96, I got this book from the Deep publications, no, that Sadhana Didi, she used to sit there. From her, I got this book. So this prayer encouraged me a lot to do lot of prayers. Actually. So this is my experience with prayers. And
Yes.
as regarding Alokda said, no, it is the arrogance of the mind only that does not pray. That also I experienced for some time. At one stage, I got vexed up, praying, praying, praying. I asked mother, why should I pray like this?
Yeah.
Even after that, no, I couldn't actually. Even after that, I continued my prayer. Till today, I am praying.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, this is my experience, Monica.
Beautiful.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yes. Shilpi, would you like to share?
you. Yes, Monica. So this prayer again was very beautiful. I felt like something similar to this we do every day, and um, but the part that was really that I really connected with was where the mother says, "O Divine Master, grant that today may bring to us a complete consecration to Thy will, a more integral gift of ourselves to thy work, a more total forgetfulness of self, a greater illumination, a purer love. So I feel that somewhere here the key of being totally forgetful of ourselves, and that seems like, it seems like such a surrender, but it also seems like such a giving away of my own trash, my own tendencies, my own patterns, and so much that that I carry around loaded on my head. And, it feels like a complete download of that weight, just completely leaving it. So maybe upload, I don't know, but it feels like when the mother says more total forgetfulness of self, I feel very connected to it, because a similar kind of prayer, I feel like I resonate very well with it. I say it as a mantra many times, that may this self just dissolve, and let it be only you, something like that. And these few words I really felt very powerful. And then mother goes on to say, remove from us all egoism, root out all pity, vanity, greed, and obscurity. May we all be ablaze with thy divine love. Make us thy torches in the world. That again is perhaps the next step after the total forgetfulness of the self, or maybe in parallel only. And then in the end, the mother says that in the serenity of a perfect surrender, I bow to thee in the light of the rising day. And one thing I have also noticed, that when I wake up in the morning, like the prayer starts where the mother says that a calm concentration which comes before daybreak. That I have noticed that right when you wake up, especially in very early morning, there is, a lot of times I feel connected, some insights come, or there is a peace. And as the day progresses, it just goes into the bhasad, as you say, Monica. This, one second, one second. Yes, I'm back. So, yes, yes, the morning part there, which the mother says that, the before daybreak, I have also personally experienced, and it could be that because there is a transition from your sleep state, dreamless state, or maybe dream state to the normal waking state, and the mind probably is just not as active as it usually is, and it feels that at that time, a lot of times you get the insights which you don't get through the working day. So that part also resonated. And yeah, and also I wanted to share one more thing, that that prayer keeps on going, that uh, let me be able to surrender. But also it felt like when the true surrender, when it will happen. And really, it is also, even that surrendering, it felt like is not really in my book to do. But still, I mean, we have to do something, and this seems to be the highest thing to do. But also, it felt like, because sometimes this frustration comes in, no, that I surrender the same thing over and over and over, but still it remains sticky. And it just, I felt like maybe that true surrender that we seek, that also is more like a happening rather than a doing. So, yeah. So that's how I connected with the prayer, Monica. So, yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Shilpi. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I would like to touch upon, Shilpi, you've shared many interesting points, and one of them being this frustration that comes. Uh, I think I relate with that frustration that you are referring to very much. That we feel that we keep on giving ourselves away to the mother again and again and again and again. Yet our tendencies are kind of springing back in action. The mind springs back in action again and again, yet again and again. And that's why, as we talk about usually also, that surrender is a continuing process. And Kabir also says that as long as there is breath in the body, as long as that one has to be uh, on this path. There is no kind of going here and there. Actually, there is no here and there at all. Everything is part of the path. We can actually go nowhere, because this divine word evolution is the only one way for the souls that we are. Even if we may think that we have failed umpteen number of times, or maybe for a lifetime we have failed, even then the direction is only one. How wrong can we be? Actually, we cannot go much wrong. There is only one direction, there is no other direction. The only thing is that when we are not able to be conscious about it, it takes more time, if I can use that word. Otherwise, it's as mother, shared with also drawing this picture. Else it is a zigzag path. Otherwise, if you constantly kind of are on alert as much as in capacity, then it's more or less straight path. Once you know what is the direction one has to take, that the tendencies and vrittis and the mind has to be constantly given and given and given. So the frustration that you talk of, I would like to talk about that. Why? Because when I am in a state of surrender, obviously there is no need to talk about that state. When there is light everywhere and consciousness everywhere, there is no words that are needed. Words are maybe needed, or discussion is maybe needed when we go through this challenge, which we call as frustration. And I see for myself that frustration would come to me and comes to me when I'm wanting to be somewhere else than where I am right now. So I'm wanting to say that what is happening right now is not a perfect manifestation of the divine. And I have to resist it, or I have to be just rush to be somewhere else, or the past coming in picture and remembering that, oh my god, I have given this several times, why do this I-ness come in me again and again? So again the mind in action. And I see that no matter what kind of an ugly situation I am going through, so called ugly, which may be deeply frustrating, maybe burdensome even, if I just become even comfortable in that petty, trivial situation, then something happens. When I'm not trying to resist that ugliness that I have so called fallen into. Because if it has been allowed by the universe, it must be allowed by the divine will. Its form may be distorted. That's okay. We don't know what exactly is a pure form of that manifestation. But the very fact that it has come out in emergence, in manifestation, shows me, tells me that it is allowed, and there is a particular reason that it is there. I find myself in these situations more often than not, and I am learning that I have to live with when I'm not able to make any sense of anything. The mind is just not able to logically extrapolate or calculate anything. And in that senselessness, I just have to be, because that's the divine gift in this moment. And in the pettiness of my tendencies, in the trap of my sanskaras, I find myself more often than not. And I feel that it's good that I feel again and again this, because the very fact that they are there is for a reason, and they are very much allowed. And when I deeply embrace or allow them to be, some kind of an ease settles in. Then I see that I'm not struggling that much when I would be struggling when I'm wanting to kind of shoo that frustration away, or shoo that situation away, that why is it not again lightness, why is darkness come again, why is my surrender not complete, all that frustration. The very fact that I have the mother with me at all point of time, there is no point when the mother is not with me, gives me a lot of strength to go through any pettiness that may arise through the ego. What would I need anything in life if I have the feet of the mother? Then I would just keep on welcoming all that wants to come, even if it's a kind of a challenge. And when challenge comes, that's the very time that we feel so frustrated. It's not in our pleasant times that we feel frustrated. It's in the time of deeper challenges, deeper conflicts, that we feel frustrated. Oh my God, this has sprung up again. I thought I have given myself to the divine, or I thought that dissolution was happening, but I see that it is just standing like a wall again. And I find these ups and downs personally particularly challenging also, and also very beautiful, because every time I go through this deeper challenge, more complexity, every time I go through, I touch again and again, yet again and again, a deeper part of me, an unexplored part of me, and as if there is no end to it, as if there is no end to this exploration, to this unrevelation, sorry, this revelation or unmasking. So then even frustration is welcome, then even pettiness is welcome. That is what I feel about this kind of, the frustrating periods or the more challenging periods. Yeah. So Himanshi, would you like to share? Himanshi and Preeti?
Hello, hi.
Yes,
I'm
Himanshi.
listening. I just want to
ठीक है,
listen to you.
ठीक है, ठीक है. Preeti, would you have anything to share right now?
No, I think we'll continue.
Okay, okay, great. Yes. So I think then let's go further. If not any comments, please keep on sharing your comments in between. So November 28, 1913, and as Shilpi was sharing, that in the morning time, or even at the time when we are about to sleep yet not have slept, this half awake state, I personally also find that very intimate for this communion. And it's like, if we can, the word that we use in Hindi is ekant, when you are all by yourself and the mind is not that active as it becomes active during the day. So the veil of obscurity is not as thick as it becomes or may become during the day, owing to an active mind. And that's when we feel, or can feel actually, this deep sense of inner peace or inner communion, inner intimacy with the deeper being in ourselves. It's a very beautiful time, and the more time we can spend in this aloneness, I feel it really kind of charges or invigorates, settles, if I can say, settles us. And Mother Alukda here shares that our souls are praying constantly. Our outer being does not know about it. The ego has no clue about the inner world. uh, the outer being, outer personality may even resist this prayer. And I personally see that there is a lot of resistance that comes up from time to time. And that's allowed too. That resistance is allowed too. Uh, Yet deep within us, there is something that is constantly praying. Why is it constantly praying and awake? Because it's in direct touch with that illumination that is present within each one of us, without any obscurity. So these moments of calm and stillness and inner poise, if one can tap into those moments, I think very good for also beautiful for insights, and just in in general to have a deeper communion with oneself. We also get many answers or resolutions to our questions in those times if we are able to tap into that time. Yes, the arrogance of the mind doesn't pray. That that's why we don't give much thought to prayer in general. Only when our own tools and patterns are failing us, our own futility of efforts is shown in front, only then we say, okay, now it's time for prayer. So somehow the prayer is considered as the last option, while it is actually a continuing prayer that goes on and must be the first option, not the last option. In fact, every task must become a prayer. Every work that we do uh, ultimately, eventually, must become a prayer only, more of a self giving rather than wanting, wanting, wanting for one's ego, for one's own I-ness. Yes. And this is very interesting. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the bhakta deliberately creeps a veil, thin veil, in front of him and the divine so that he can continue to be in worship. This is really beautiful. I don't know how this can be that one unites and then kind of wants to keep a thin veil so that to enjoy the joy of bhakti. This was very, very interesting. Yeah. In this calm concentration which comes before daybreak, more than at any other moment, my thought rises to Thee, O Lord of our being, in an ardent prayer. So, usually, if we look at the quality of our thoughts, I don't know, we have to kind of check it for ourselves. Where are our thoughts usually in a day to day life? They are actually mostly scattered either into past or future, or people and worries and anxieties or present situations to deal with. And when we are confronted with these calm moments in our life, or even very deeply challenging, painful moments in our life, they're owing to the collection of consciousness that happens. We see that it's possible to have thought rising towards the divine rather than scattered here and there. So I think we all sense this in our life, that the periods of calm concentration come and go also before the scattering of after the scattering of consciousness happens. Yeah. So mother is praying further that in this calm concentration, when I am collected, when the consciousness is collected, kind of aspire. Mother is praying, grant that this day which is about to dawn may bring to earth and to men a little more of pure light and true peace. May thy manifestation be more complete and thy sweet law more widely recognized. So it is like a background thing that the divine will is in action. Yet, when the veil of ego is there, it's a distortion of the divine will that happens. And one goes through all the byproducts or side effects of all that throughout our life. So, Mother is praying for a deeper and more transparent divine manifestation, so that all these obscurities that we go through, all this veils of suffering that we go through, are lesser and lesser for the whole humankind, the mankind. I think this is really beautiful if one can be in such a state where one uh, can actually think for humanity rather than just we usually just are asking for ourselves. Either it's our suffering, our peace, or our family, our child, all that. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
Chitraji. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel this can be our daily prayer, no? Morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
very beautiful. Yeah. Daily
Yeah.
prayer we can do. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So then Alokda reminds us of this prayer in Sanskrit, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramaya, where it is almost similar to that prayer in Sanskrit, that may every being find the light in more and more uh, quality, the quality of light, may it increase further and further. The quality of truth, may it shine more and more through each creature. I think this is a very grounded state of being if one can uh, touch these states in our lifetime. Uh, yes, and usually we find ourselves praying for our own agendas and our own sufferings. That's what we are engaged with throughout. And Mother is not just there. Mother is saying that she's praying for the divine, for the will to be done, and also for the manifestation to be more complete. So the veil to be shed more and more, and the divine light, may it reveal itself in its fuller manifestation. And as we were talking earlier, that we can only move in one direction. The direction is divineward. The direction is Godward direction. It cannot go anywhere. Even when it goes in plunges of darkness, who hides in the plunges of darkness? God only. So it cannot go anywhere. There is nothing else where it can go actually. It's just that in our human time limits, it feels that it has taken a wrong direction, and uh, even when it takes a wrong direction, in another lifetime, yet another lifetime, we can always take yet another direction. So in eternity, there is enough time. Why we rush towards light is that for a human time frame, for the life that we have today, that's a limited time that we have. Yet our souls have infinite number of moments. So there is actually no rush, yet paradoxically there is also a rush to be more and more in completer union with the divine. Yet even when there is a rush, we cannot do much about it, unfortunately or fortunately, because everything happens in its own sweet time. The things, the challenges happen for their own purpose. Sometimes we are able to take the lessons, and many a times we are not able to take the lessons, so they repeat themselves, and yet they again repeat themselves. So it's all right, it's all part of a game, and there is no rush or haste that when will my game be over, because then it's another ego game only. It's nothing else but the ego thinking about itself, that when will I reach more and more light. So again, more asking is going on and not self giving. So it's a very interesting trap that we can get into from time to time. Yes. And then this is shared that often we go through relationships in life, and uh, we form a bond with people of common interests or common understanding, companionship, a sense of friendship. Yet there is a deeper bond that we can touch even when the physically the person is not there. So the person's absence becomes a deeper presence, because when we lose our loved ones in life, when people who are close to us are not there anymore, closer to us physically, even then we can be deeply in touch with them, and that's a even deeper bond that we can touch when more than the bond when we are able to touch when they are physically close to us. So more like, their absence becomes their living presence, and that's a deeper kind of an intimacy that we can begin to share with, in general, humanity or more and more people in our life. Yeah. So the prayer continues, and Mother shares, may something higher, nobler, more true be revealed to mankind. May a vaster and deeper love spread abroad so that all painful wounds may be healed. Now, Mother has gone through a human life and is going through a human life. She is aware of the wounds that we get in a human life. She is aware of all that attachment, clinging, suffering that one goes through in a normal human life. And that's why she can pray, because if she was not in touch with human wounds, she will not be able to actually pray for those. So, this we also see in Savitri, that the very fact that she suffers, Savitri is suffering from the absence of Satyavan in her life, makes her get in touch with the deeper mission. If not for that human wound that is inflicted on Savitri, how would a prayer arise in her being? So, going through these wounds in our own lives, going through pain and loss and abandonment and suffering in our own life, connects us somehow deeply to the whole of humanity, because the wounds are similar. It's a very similar kind of lives that we live, although they may have unique permutations and combinations, but wounds we all have. And that's why the more I am in touch with my own wounds, the more I can be in touch with the deeper part of me, from where the prayer rises in the being, and then it connects me to more of humanity than just with myself. Yeah. So Mother is praying that may love, divine love, spread more and more. May people get more and more in touch with their deeper light, so that they also experience this healing of wounds that can happen when one is touched in with the deeper being. Yeah. And may this first sunbeam dawning upon the earth be herald of joy and harmony, a symbol of the glorious splendor hidden in the essence of life. So, as Mother is continuing her prayer, Mother is looking also at the dawn that is emerging, the first sun rays that are going to emerge, and she sees this as maybe may this be a kind of a announcement of joy and harmony in lives of the mankind, and a symbol of glorious splendor hidden in the essence of life. And this is what is unmasked in our life through all the unmaskings, through all the challenges that we face. Because this glorious splendor that Mother talks of, this usually is hidden. We all know that it's hidden, and it's only in going through challenges and in our own life, going through darker periods, that we get in touch with this deeper hidden splendor. Otherwise, the splendor mostly remains hidden under the mask of, the calculations of the mind and all the things that engage us throughout in our life. Yeah, so Alugda is sharing here that the surfaces in our life can be stormy, turbulent, and are in fact stormy, turbulent, ever changing, good, bad, pleasant, painful. But in the depths of life, there is always availability of this peace, joy, love, and beatitude. It's always there. Yet, in our own time, we can access these depths, and that's completely allowed. That's our journey. It's not that from the very beginning we can access all that. It's not the collective evolution that human beings are at. It's a state where we have a lot of ignorance, and in parts and pieces, as the veils of ignorance are shed, we become more available to the presence of this peace, joy, serenity, and that too goes ups and kind of, goes through these waves of going up and down, and that also is allowed. That also is allowed because as we become more capable of more light, more depths will be revealed to us. So if I am not capable yet, if I am not full of this light yet, it has a reason, and that's my journey. So can I just embrace this journey also, and not just be in frustration for when will this light dawn in fuller kind of uh, depths. And as we also read in this prayer later, that there is no end to the fuller manifestation. We can never say that the now the divine has reached its full manifestation, because that itself will put limit on the manifestation. That itself will put a limit on the limitlessness that the divine refers to. So there is no end to this continuing journey. As Nisargadatta Maharaj also says, the road is the goal. There is no other goal. The road is the goal. And when we begin to embrace the road also, and not just kind of running blindly towards some goal which has been shown to us through images of the mind, I think then something settles in us deeply, and we become more available to draw as if one is drawing water from a well, to draw from our own wells of being the peace, joy, serenity, love, and beatitude in as much capacity as we are ready. And that's completely fine. Something settles there. So that is what Mother is invoking, that may this sun which rises be a symbol of awakening of these powers. Very beautifully also described in the first half, the book 1, Canto 1 of Savitri, the symbol dawn. How dawn comes every day, and yet we miss it every day. We miss, many days are missed, not acknowledging that calm collectedness of consciousness which has the possibility of happening in the time when dawn is happening, in the hours before sunrise, sunbreak. Yeah. So Mother goes further. O divine master, grant that today may bring to us a completer consecration to thy will, a more integral gift of ourselves to thy work, a more total forgetfulness of self. And this is the key, the forgetfulness of self. We are so occupied with ourselves, and that is the biggest disease uh, towards, which causes actually disease in our being, in the sense we just get too entangled and entrapped in this mess that the remembrance of self creates. And yet, having said that, it has its own purpose. And as we go on this road, different things come up, and those are also fine. It's not that anything is wrong that is happening on this road. Road is the goal. And if not for these ups and downs, if not for these moments of light and then moments of darkness, how would I be able to appreciate moments of light if not for the darkness? The more darkness I go through, I see particularly for myself that there is a more byproduct of gratitude that comes, originates by itself in the being. Not saying that I want more darkness, or neither saying that I want more light, but this journey itself is so rewarding in nature, whether the darkness may remain for a longer time, or the light may remain for a longer time. Then this craving kind of settles there, and then that there is something kind of a settling in the being. I'm just fine where I am right now, whatever be the state of being. And then there is this forgetfulness of self that comes, when we are fine wherever we are, this wanting ceases. when we see often wanting for ourselves, either wanting for our family, wanting for our loved ones, wanting for, maybe somebody we know, or wanting for ourselves. And this is all wanting for ourselves actually, because if they were not related to us, how would I even think about them? So the very fact that I am thinking about those people is the fact that I am related to them. So I'm asking for myself only all the time. And the more this asking changes into a kind of a forgetfulness, a more giving of oneself, the more I see that it doesn't matter whatever state I am going through in life. That's okay, because I'm not even wanting light for myself. I'm fine in the darkness that the divine has given me for now. So where is the want? Who am I kind of wanting for right now? And then the darkness also becomes a gift. And this is the disguise of duality that we go through in life. Darkness appears fearful and full of anxiety, and we keep on shunning it away, wanting pleasure, and pleasure comes, and that also doesn't stay for a longer time. And then pain comes, and all these cycles kind of go on and on and on and on. And in that, if there can be this deeper sense of intimacy with oneself, that's something which is really beautiful. Yeah. And Alokda shares here that this is not a yoga of wanting, this is a yoga of giving. How much can I give myself further and further, further and further? There's no end to this giving, self giving. Yeah. More integral self giving to mother's work. And whatever we go through is mother's work. There is no special work that is mother's work, and this is not mother's work, and that is mother's work. Nothing like that. Yeah. And that's why remember and offer, Alokda reminds us again that remembering and offering is a beautiful remedy, a cure for remembering oneself. The more we see, if I'm becoming conscious that, oh my God, today again I see that I'm full of myself, nothing doing, just offer it again and again, yet again. And it's so easy, yet we keep on forgetting it. And it doesn't matter if we forget it, even offering the forgetfulness of my the habit that has become, forgetting that I need to remember and offer. I can even offer that in the ahuti, as a ahuti in this havan kund. So even that is fine. And yes, this is really interesting. Alokda shares here, oh, I have been remembering and offering, but what have I got? This is really interesting trap one can get into. And what I see personally here is that when I am still waiting for a result, it means that I am not one, or in alignment, or in embrace with my present situation. Somewhere, some part of the being is resisting. It is resisting the state I am in. As if a part of me is saying, yes, I accept the situation. Yet a part of me is saying, no, this could be different. This has to be different. It cannot be. So only then I would be wanting that, oh my God, I have remembered and offered, yet I have not achieved a lightness in the being, or yet I have not achieved whatever, something that I have been wanting from life. Only then this wanting would be there. If I am in complete embrace with the present situation, then this wanting somehow settles, and it may spring up again, but I see that it settles. And then one can say that, yes, whatever mother has given to me, I take it with gratitude. This state mother has given to me, it must be there for a reason, and I take it in a gratitude. I don't challenge it. Yes. And then mother, please keep sharing your comments whenever you feel like. Yeah. A more total forgetfulness of self, and a greater illumination, a purer love. So there is no end to this manifestation. There is no end to the light that can come more and more as the walls of obscurity are shed. And that's why Mother prays for even a greater illumination, even more, even more, even more. because there is no end to this. One can never say that now I have united with the divine and this is the maximum I could achieve. This is bullshit. This can never be said, because the divine is infinite, and how can my union be finite with the infinite? It is not possible. And that's why degrees can be further and further and further and further. Grant that in a communion, growing ever deeper as we get in touch with much deeper layers of ourselves, growing ever deeper, more constant and entire, we may be united always more and more closely to thee. Mother is again and again using these words, more and more, completer. And this is a hint that there is so much on this path, so much, so much of exploration still there. We may be united always more and more closely to thee, and become thy servitors worthy of thee. Hindi maybe use this word patrata, that we maybe become more capable of harboring your light more and more, more and more. Yeah. And also, this is a very interesting exercise, which I personally feel very unburdening in nature. That, whenever we feel that we are kind of, worried about someone or some situation in life, to offer it as if you are offering it as a ahuti in the Havan Kund, because things have a way, they just get a kind of become a burden of our mind. And if we want to again offer it to the mother, because the ego takes upon itself the burden of doing, the burden of responsibility, it's a beautiful thing to remember again and to give it again to the mother, yet again and yet again to the mother, whatever is bothering us. And then somehow it happens that if there is anything to be done, then we are shown the right path. And if there is nothing to be done, then we see that also. So, this offering of our worries and anxieties continuously to the divine is something which is a way of constantly unburdening ourselves, if one wants to use this. Remove from us all egoism, root out all petty vanity, greed, and obscurity. Yes. So this thing called me, that is everywhere in our life. Mother is asking or praying for it to get dissolved from its roots. Remove us from all egoism, root out all petty vanity, greed, and obscurity. And if it was so easy, and if it was so easy, dealing with ego was so easy, not so much would have been written on it. So one also grounds oneself in the basic reality of life, that yes, it's hard, and it's a game to which we fall into trap again and again, again and again. And yet it is okay. Yet it is okay, because it's challenging, and it's only in degrees that we become capable of overpowering or overcoming it. And that's also okay. So I personally see that it grounds me further and further. Whenever ego rises up, and I see the futility of its efforts, it just further grounds me, deepens me in my roots on the ground, rather than putting me up in the air. Because we have this tendency of going up in the air whenever things are happening good, according to our own good, right? Okay, this is pleasant, all the friends are fine, and everything, family is running fine. Yet when things don't happen our own way, and when ego falls flat on the nose, then grounding that happens is the grounding that we need often in life. So that's also for there for a reason. Yes. May we all be ablaze with thy divine love. Make us thy torches in the world. Only by going through our own pain and challenges in a greater intimacy can we become a torch in the world. If we ourselves are touching our own issues and challenging at only a surface level, we'll not be able to do much of help to other people around us. Because our pain is alike, our sufferings are similar, our challenges are very, very alike. Uh, and I often use these words that, we have a very common mixture of ingredients that we human beings are formed of. This ego, the vanity, the greed, the jealousy, the hatred, these are all very common to the whole humanity. So if I am not deeply in touch with my own issues, how on earth can I connect deeply to other human beings around me? So the very path that I am on, the very challenge that I have taken up in this life, to be in touch deeply and intimately with my own challenges, that itself is a big enough purpose. Because the more intimate I get with my own pain and explore it as like an adventurer, I see that that connects me with more and more people. And if I just keep diving on, not really deep diving and swimming on the surface waters, that kind of keeps me away from connecting to people at a deeper level. So I find this really interesting, because uh, the more we go in touch deeper with our own being, the more we understand the world better and better and better. So this is the biggest help that one can do to oneself, to be in touch deeply with one's own challenges, not wanting to shoo them away, not wanting either to cling them in life, yet to explore them like an adventurer. And then we can be capable of being a torch in the world. Otherwise, just like as I touch myself on the surface, I'll be touching others on the surface, and that really is of any help. A silent hymn of praise rises from my heart like the white smoke of incense of perfumes of the east. So, referring to how the smoke of agarbattis, the incense sticks, rises uh, up and up, and doesn't go here and there, like rises in a constant, kind of an aspiration towards the upper side, the higher self, if we can use that word. That's how Mother says that it's a silent hymn of praise, that thank God for everything that you grant us in this life, for even challenges are beautiful, for even each and every path that we go through in life is beautiful. And in the serenity of a perfect surrender, I bow to thee in the light of the rising day. Yes. And this really settles one down, because if one truly knows that the divine never goes away, the divine is ever present, I run away again and again, and I can come back also again and again. Then we see that there is nothing really to, run after towards, and one can deeply settle oneself in this calm poise within the being. No matter how many times we may lose the poise, that doesn't matter. It's just that just have to come back to it again and again. And the last paragraph that Alugda shares is really nice. When we have given ourselves to the divine, then what is the need for worry? Because when I have anyway given myself, what is left in me for which I should worry? Yet we see that we keep on worrying again and again, and nothing doing, just remember and offer. Very simple again. Yes. And then, whatever situations or circumstances we may go through, in all those situations, the divine is present with us. And that's the very reason that I can go through each and every challenge of my life in a full embrace, in a deep allowance. Because nothing can take the truest essence from me, and nothing can give me more than who I truly am, the divine in essence. So I can go through everything. Yeah. So, any comments so far? Okay.
I will read one line from Savitri about the prayer.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. It's from page number 20, the issue. It is there actually. A prayer, a master act, a king idea can link man's strength to a transcendent force. Then miracle is made the common rule. So I felt,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Or shall we read the prayer? Okay. Who would like to read the prayer then in that case?
Yeah, I can read.
Okay.
November 28, 1913. In this calm concentration which comes before daybreak, more than at any other moment, my thought rises to Thee, O Lord of our being, in an ardent prayer. Grant that this day which is about to dawn may bring to the earth and to men a little more of pure light and true peace. May Thy manifestation be more complete and Thy sweet law more widely recognized. May something higher, nobler, more true be revealed to mankind. May a vaster and deeper love spread abroad so that all painful wounds may be healed. And may this first sunbeam dawning upon the earth be the herald of joy and harmony, a symbol of the glorious splendor hidden in the essence of life. O Divine Master, grant that today may bring to us a completer consecration to Thy will, a more integral gift of ourselves to Thy work, a more total forgetfulness of self, a greater illumination, a purer love. Grant that in a communion growing ever deeper, more constant and entire, we may be united always more and more closely to Thee and become Thy servitors worthy of Thee. Remove from us all egoism, root out all petty vanity, greed and obscurity. May we all may we be all ablaze with Thy divine love. Make us Thy torches in the world. A silent hymn of praise rises from my heart like the white smoke of incense of the perfumes of the East. And in the serenity of a perfect surrender, I bow to Thee in the light of the rising day.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Thank you for joining.